So, Saudi Arabia just spent hundreds of billions of dollars to build a city that's now 98% smaller than promised. Yeah, you heard that right. The Line, that insane mirrored skyscraper stretching across the desert, just got a massive reality check. And what you're about to hear, almost no one's talking about it. Because here's the thing, when Bloomberg dropped their bombshell report in December 2024, everyone screamed failure. But the satellite images tell a completely different story. There's construction happening right now. Massive construction. Just not where anyone expected. So what's really going on? Did Saudi Arabia just pull off the world's most expensive pivot? Or are we watching $500 billion evaporate in the desert sun? Let's start with what actually changed. The original plan, a continuous 170-kilometer long city, a literal line of mirrored walls stretching across the desert, housing 9 million people. Sounds like science fiction, right? That's because it basically was. Fast forward to December 2024 and Bloomberg drops the news. The 2030 target has been sloshed from 16 kilometers down to just 2.4 kilometers. That's not a reduction, that's a different project entirely. We're talking about going from revolutionary megacity to really big building in one announcement. Naturally, the internet lost its mind. Headlines screamed about Saudi Arabia's failed vanity project. Critics came out of the woodwork saying, "Told you so." And honestly, I get it. When you promise 170 kilometers and deliver 2.4 kilometers, the optics are not great. But here's where it gets interesting. If you look at the satellite imagery, and yes, people are obsessively tracking this thing from space, there's a specific segment under heavy construction. It's called the Hidden Marina, spanning modules 43 through 47. That 2.4 kilometer stretch. And it's not abandoned, not even close. Wait, it gets even crazier. The excavation work for this segment, already complete. We're talking about one of the largest earth-moving operations on the planet, and they actually finished carving out this massive trench. Meanwhile, the other 100+ kilometers of the planned route, completely untouched, like not even preliminary work. So here's the question nobody's asking. What if this wasn't a failure? What if this was always the plan? Think about it. You don't accidentally excavate 2.4 kilometers of desert. That's not an oops moment. That's intentional, deliberate, strategic. This is where things take a turn, because the real story isn't about Saudi Arabia giving up. It's about them getting realistic. Let me explain the engineering nightmare they were facing. Building 170 kilometers of this thing simultaneously? Physically impossible. Like the global supply chain for specialized steel and glass literally cannot produce that much material fast enough. You'd need to corner the entire world market for years. And even if you could, coordinating construction across 170 kilometers of linear desert with no existing infrastructure, that's a logistical black hole where money goes to die. But a 2.4 kilometer module, that's doable. That's actually brilliant. Here's what they're really building. A proof of concept, a live beta test for the most experimental urban technology ever attempted. Think about what the line promises. Computer-controlled mirrors adjusting to sunlight, an internal climate system managing desert heat, vertical cities with everything within a 5-minute walk. None of that has ever been done before. Not at this scale, not anywhere. If you're still watching, you clearly enjoy mega project drama. And trust me, there's more. So instead of building 170 kilometers and discovering your mirror system doesn't work halfway through, oops, there goes $300 billion, you build one functional module first. You test everything, you fix the problems, you prove it works, then you replicate. It's the modular approach, and it's actually how most mega projects should be built. The problem is Saudi Arabia spent 2 years hyping the full 170-kilometer version, so when they pivoted to common sense, it looked like retreat. But here's the twist. This mini line isn't just a test. It's designed to be fully functional, self-contained, habitable by 2030. They're planning to pack roughly 300,000 people into this 2.4-kilometer segment. For context, that's Manhattan-level population density in the middle of the desert with no surrounding city, which raises an obvious question: who's going to live there? And this is where the economic strategy gets fascinating. The 2030 target isn't about completing the line, it's about creating a revenue-generating asset: tourism. The entire module is being positioned as a luxury destination, a technological showcase. Come stay in the world's most futuristic city, even if it's only 2.4 kilometers long. The idea is simple. Make Module 1 profitable, use that money to fund Module 2, and keep expanding. It's self-financing expansion rather than burning through the entire $500 billion budget up front. Smart? Absolutely. Honest marketing? Debatable. Because let's be real,
When Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman stood on stage and unveiled the line, he wasn't selling a 2.4-kilometer tourism resort. He was selling a vision of the future, a complete reimagining of urban life. And that vision is now on hold, probably indefinitely. Wait, there's one more thing that'll blow your mind. Despite the length reduction, the foundation work, the piling operation is still the largest in the world right now. They're driving massive concrete pillars deep into the desert bedrock to support these mirror walls. That work hasn't stopped. It's actually accelerating. Why? Because foundations don't care about public perception. You can't build upward without building downward first. And if Saudi Arabia is serious about eventually expanding beyond 2.4 kilometers, and all evidence suggests they are, then the foundation work needs to continue regardless of the timeline. So we've got this weird situation where the line is simultaneously shrinking and still growing. The visible construction contracted to one segment, but the invisible groundwork keeps pushing forward. It's a Schrodinger's megaproject, both dead and alive, depending on how you look at it. So what's the final verdict? Is the line a failure? By the original 170-kilometer standard? Absolutely. That city is never getting built. Not in our lifetimes, probably not ever. The physics, economics, and logistics simply don't work. But is the 2.4-kilometer mini line a failure?
That's different. If they actually complete it by 2030, if it functions as designed, if people actually want to live or visit there, then it becomes the world's most expensive proof of concept, a $100 billion demonstration project that might eventually scale up. The real question isn't whether Saudi Arabia can build 2.4 kilometers of futuristic city. They probably can. The question is whether that 2.4 kilometers will be compelling enough to justify building the next 2.4 kilometers, and then the next, and the next. Because right now, we're watching one of the most expensive experiments in urban planning ever attempted. And unlike most experiments, this one's happening in real time, in the middle of the desert, under the scrutiny of the entire world. The line isn't dead. It's just a lot shorter than promised. Whether that's adaptation or surrender, I guess we'll find out in 2030.